Hello and welcome to another edition of the Same Old Stripes podcast. Hey, it's an in-season edition of the Same Old Stripes podcast. Now, we hit you with our last preseason one last time. Tio was the only one that picked the Browns, and he was the only one who was right. What we didn't see coming was the Bengals beatdown they took in Cleveland on Sunday, the 24-3 loss in a game where most Bengals fans will be hopefully in their dreams, quick to forget. We'll talk a little bit about that and a little bit about the Ravens. But Tio and I on the show with you today. We'll check in with Tio first before we kind of kick into things. Tio, how are you, my friend? How are things?
Yeah, things are good, man. Kind of a weird week. Even I woke up on Sunday, and usually the day before Sunday, opening day for football, I can't sleep. I'm so excited, but now I slept like a baby. I don't know why, but I fell asleep right away with my son and woke up, and I wasn't like nervous or jittery. So that was weird. Maybe that's what happens when you're a Super Bowl contender. It's a little less exciting because you kind of know what your team's going to be in a way. But I mean, I'm still excited about the season, and I'm still excited about the journey this team's going to go, because like I said last week, that it does kind of feel like a last ride kind of thing with a lot of these bets. But overall, yeah, I'm doing pretty well, man. Not looking into that game too much. Kind of what we all expected, deep down, really, is what we all expected. But yeah, I'm doing good, man. School's going okay. I'm ready for summer already. But yeah, how are you doing?
Well, if you've been following on Twitter, or potentially you can hear my voice, but your boy is on the mend from the good old COVID-19, the coronavirus, folks. You might have heard of it. It was all over the internet there for a minute. So if I say any things that don't make any sense, I've been doing a lot of that recently. My brain is still very fuzzy. My sinuses are still kind of clogged. But we'll give you a podcast today, and hopefully it's mostly coherent. That's the podcast that we usually promise you. But we'll see. First of all, it's good to see you, as always. Let's start a little bit with the Browns. I mean, if we're just kind of talking through all the things that go into this game. First of all, you turn on the TV, and it's about 12:50, and they start showing the little in-stadium shots, and you just see the rain starting to putter down in Cleveland, Ohio. Mind you, Cleveland, Ohio, about the 10-minute radius around the city is about the only area in Ohio where it wasn't just like sunny and beautiful, like fall weather. And I think that's the weather the Bengals are actually expecting on Sunday. Not that it matters, but so the minute that weather started coming down, I think the Bengals fan and all of us went, "Go." And what ensued was a slop fest from the Bengals offense. The Bengals defense showing some good things, but eventually kind of looking like they just ran out of gas. And overall, a clunker of a performance that I've just kind of lost words, to explain at this point. It's been a head shaker. So we're not going to dwell on it too much. I think it'd be good for each of us to kind of give maybe a lasting impression or two of that game, something that may actually matter. I think the thing to me that stood out the most, and I hope it doesn't linger around too much, are we going to have an offensive line chemistry feel thing again? Because that was obviously the story of last season, just for the first couple weeks. And for as good as Orlando Brown was, it just felt like the whole line was a little out of sync with where Joe Burrow wanted to be. And the pocket location, I think, is what really felt awkward to me, because there were times where it just felt like it might have been, Joe Burrow's coming back from his calf injury, a number of different factors. But with that said, the offensive line, to me, I don't know, maybe it's a communication or coordination thing, but it just didn't feel like five guys on the same page. And so I have a hard time really putting a whole lot of thoughts together on any of those five guys until I see them play as a unit. Until then, I just kind of got to say they're not playing like a unit quite yet. So that's kind of my major takeaway that I'd make about this game. That I think I'd want to share with Bengals fans. Tio, anything come to mind for you, or anything you want to expand upon there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hitting on the offense line is an interesting one. I'm sure we'll dig into it a little bit more later. I guess my biggest gripe, man, is it's a gripe we've had. I think all of us have had for the better part of 3 years now. Even during this run, and even during the magical Super Bowl run, it's the same basic offense the same concepts. I mean, that's all I got for you. It's so frustrating, man. Watching it. I'm watching it with my brothers, and Bengal Storm. Many of you know him as my brother Nick. We're in shotgun, and he's like, "Oh, it's a sweep," and I'm not kidding you. It's a sweep. It's an outside sweep off the tackle. The only sweep we did all day, and I looked at him. I was like, if you know that, the defense knows that. And he's just like, yeah, you could just tell it was just, he pointed something out about, I don't know, the way the guard or the linemen were over there or something. I don't know. But, and I have a running joke that, it doesn't matter who's on the outside, whether it be T. Higgins, whether it be Chase, whether it be, whoever. It's a streak route. It's a streak route on the outside. And then on the inside, you have an option route with Boyd. It's either going to be an out route or a slant. And it's just it's that play over and over again. And then your tight end and your running back are doing flats every single time. And at some point, you got to switch it up, man. And, even on the big plays, anytime we hit a big play, it's just either a back shoulder or Chase beating someone over top. Well, watch the Vikings tonight. I think the Vikings do a pretty good job. I'm not saying I want us to look like the Vikings at all. I think that'd be the last thing I want. But you're gonna see how Jefferson does tons of crossers, man, and he puts defenders in difficult situation. He puts the linebackers, the safeties in difficult situation, especially when they're in zone. And he opens stuff up, and I just don't see enough of that stuff over the middle with the Bengals. And I hope it changes. But, the last gripe I have is, obviously every run's out of the shotgun, which is whatever. It is what it is. But my problem with the shotgun is it's the same 3-step drop every single time. It's never a 5-step drop. It's never a 7-step drop. It's 3 steps and the ball's out. 3 steps, the ball's supposed to be out. It's like at some point you have to drop back. You have to take shots. It can't be the same routes and same concepts every single time. So I guess that was my biggest takeaway. Even just going to week 1, you knew it was the same offense that we've had the last 3 years, which is fine. But at some point you have to add to it.
I mean, how many times are we going to talk about on this podcast about how the play calling feels stale in the beginning of the season? I mean, they diversify late in the year, but it's also like when Burrow starts to kind of take reins later in the year, that you really feel this offense come together. But Tio, I mean, how many times on Sunday did it feel like the Browns were just running step for step with the wide receivers? And how many times did it feel like they knew exactly what the run call was going to be? It felt like pretty often they were just, I don't know, the Browns have the Bengals number to an extent, but I do feel like, and this is kind of becoming an AFC North trend because we see what those 2 Ravens games at the end of last year stand out to me a lot too. Games where it just felt like the other team had the playbook and had the film. And, there's an element where, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, this offense can dig itself out of some holes, even on days when the, defense has the play sheet and has the whole, has the answer key to the whole test. But it's the beginning of the season. Your quarterback is obviously not 110%. He's probably, maybe he's 90%, but he's tipped us that he's not 100% already. Obviously, he did not look as comfortable running around. I'm happy it didn't result in a further injury. It doesn't sound like they're too worried about the injury. But, man, you got to do something a little different. And I think one thing that I was really disappointed to see not play out, and maybe it's because the timing was not all the way there and the field wasn't all the way there, but we were really sold on more creative play action stuff coming into the season. Yeah. We heard that from a lot of beat writers. We heard that from a lot of people at camp. The lack of, creativity in the play action game, I just don't really know what you're supposed to do at that point. You're not being creative. You're just being.
Can you hit on the play action a little bit more? Because I think you'll do a great job about that. What's the difference between play action from the shotgun and play action under center? Because I think there's a drastic difference.
So, play action under center, immediately you're going to be able to sell your run concept a little more because teams are actually going to believe that's true. When you're an offense like the Bengals and you've installed a lot of these RPOs and you have a running game that's not super crazy, and especially when you have, a later offensive line, a lot of the times these are supposed to be designed to look like RPO passing sets, a little bit more of that spread offense style. obviously there's that fear of turning your back when you're under center. But when you're under center, you're really selling this could be a run, and you're creating more buy-in from the defense. And as a part of turning your back as the quarterback, you're selling the run more. You're giving yourself more time where the defense is buying that run and has time to put the eyes on something other than the passing concept. So for this offense to continue to just let defenses assume they're going to pass all the time, I mean, not be able to take advantage of these light boxes, which we saw Joe Mixon spring a few, but it was 2 runs. Let's not act like it's a however many year old running back with however many miles under his legs. All of a sudden, I mean, it's just one of those things, man. It's a couple runs in a game that ultimately featured a lot of 2 and 3 yard gains. So, I mean, with that said, I mean, that's where it kind of stands for me. I mean, you're not selling what this offense could be at its peak. You're selling the passing game of this offense. You're making teams fear that in a different way. You're making them fear a little bit of a differential, but man, unless you're really selling that thing, it's hard for defenses to buy in all the way. And they're going to sit on your pass, and they're not going to be afraid because they know they can get to your running back in 2 or 3 yards at the most. Hell, with the way the Browns are penetrating, they're getting contact pretty early.
You did a beautiful job explaining that, and that's kind of the point. I guess the goal for the Bengals with the play action on the shotgun is to freeze the linebackers for a half a second. But when it's so quick, man, there's no explosion. And you know what? We should probably give them the benefit of the doubt because they are playing with Joe Burrow in mind and his calf in mind. So maybe they're like, okay, well, everything we installed, we will add in later. Let's just do quick 3-step drops, get the ball out. But and obviously the rain had a factor, man. Burrow didn't have any control of the ball that game, so it is what it is, man. But yeah, like you said, I was pretty happy with the way Mixon looked. He did look like he had a little bit of a burst, and his balance looked a lot better for me. Just from the eye test. So
yeah, and that's the version of Joe Mixon you want to see. If you're going to sell someone on Joe Mixon this season, it does look like that. Obviously, it's going to come with more touchdowns closer to the red zone, but I mean, if the balance is up, that's going to help in the red zone. That's a huge factor. So, Tio, we already spent more time talking about this than I thought we might. So let's go ahead and leave the Browns in the past now. I want to go to another present news story before we kind of get into the Ravens game a little bit and preview some of that content. But I do want to talk about the release of La'el Collins from the PUP list that has been kind of going on and trickling. I think it was yesterday that news hit. This week's kind of running together for me. So it's only been a little over 24 hours as recording, but a move that still feels really weird. And especially now that we know, per the report of Jordan Schultz of Bleacher Report, that he is in contact with several teams who are interested in signing him. Obviously, we know, La'el Collins is coming off an injury. He would not have been eligible until at least week 4 for the Bengals. Further, it is unknown when in the season he'll be ready. I've seen a lot of November-y kind of projections, but to me and you, I think the weird part about this is you feel like, this team has struggled with line depth for the last couple seasons. Last couple seasons might be being quite generous if we're being real. La'el Collins, obviously, to other teams represents maybe the best depth option on the market. The Bengals had the best depth option on the market, and they could have waited a few weeks for this. That's the really confusing part to me. And, I've seen people be like, they're not going to get any trade value. That's not what it's about. They were never going to get any trade value. But to me, I mean, Dio, I would love to know if you have a better understanding of it, because to me, the timing feels weird. The move itself feels weird. None of it makes a whole lot of sense to me because it's not like they don't have room with the cap, even with the Burrow contract.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have answers for you. I don't have any more insight. I don't have anything. I just don't understand it. I like LC, man. I thought he was a good locker room presence. No, I'm not saying he was a world beater or anything. Like, obviously, he had his issues in pass pro, which obviously sucks. But one thing he did give you was he was an elite run blocker. And that counts for something, man. And at $7 million, that's swing tackle money, man. That's what swing tackles get. So unless this move comes with some other move that comes on top of it, whether it's a DJ Reader extension, the T. Higgins tag at the end of the year, which is inevitably coming. I don't know, man. I just don't agree with it because, like you said, the last 2 years we've lost is because of our depth, right? Jonah goes down or Orlando Brown, you feel fine. You feel okay, not fine, but you feel okay about, sliding Jonah over to the left and keeping LC there. You feel fine about that. Now, Orlando, if Orlando Brown goes down, this team's screwed again with the depth because then you're sliding probably Smith in at right tackle or
Carmen.
I mean, come on, man. It's just we've seen this story too many times. It's like you got to adjust, man. And I don't know. So unless there's a corresponding move, even we've talked about, Dalton Reisner, who I like. I know you kind of like him as well, and yeah, I don't know, man. The interior depth's not awesome anymore either, and I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it. I liked LC. I thought he was a good locker room guy. I'm not saying he was great, but he was.
Hey man, I'll tell you what. I would much rather go down fighting with Leo Collins than Jackson Carman. I've seen that movie, man. I've seen the movie. I watched it in the AFC Championship game. I watched it in the Super Bowl. Jackson Carman in different roles.
Need a different movie.
Just it's time to change the movie. I mean, to me, maybe you feel really good about where Deontay Smith is. Great, fine, beautiful. What has he done for you? Where has he been? He's not even really been in the lineup as they've kind of had these injuries over the last couple of years. It's been other guys. It's been Hakeem Adeniji, who's on a practice squad with another team now. It's been, Max Sharping at guard, who's your backup guard and center, but no one was real excited about bringing him back if you ask the Bengals fan base. It's one of those things, man, where at some point you wonder why we keep playing this game with the backup line depth and the same lesson happens to them. I mean, I get they fixed the starters, you fixed your ceiling, but to me, there's always something a little bit more tantalizing about solidifying your floor, and this is not solidifying your floor to me.
So what's your thoughts? Like, why didn't they just wait till the end of the season? Like, 80% of us thought there was a pretty damn good chance that he was gone after the season anyways, but why now? Why not just wait?
I mean, my best guess would be just the Burrow contract or something, but that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, if you have the guy on the PUP list and he's not going to be even eligible to play for another couple of weeks, and maybe you don't have any intention of keeping him, to me, it just feels like if you're waiting for something better and you're clearing that money, the timing of it just sucks, man. You can make that move anytime. It's not a hard transaction to do. They tried to do it without anyone noticing. In fact, I think someone just saw the NFL transaction report, put it out. And then like an hour later, the Bengals had to put out their own statement, be like, yeah, we did do that. That is something we did. I mean, were they just going to act like they didn't release the guy that everyone saw at the Kenwood Mall in Cincinnati? The saga, the whole thing, the bodyguard? I mean, come on now.
Yeah, it's just weak. It's weak too because he's worked out with the team this whole time, and I don't know, man. Something doesn't sit right with me about it, but Yeah,
I mean, I really have a hard time putting heads or tails to it. I really wish I could give a better reasoned answer, but it's really hard to see a reason for it. I mean, sometimes things end up working out for a reason. I get the sense that T. Higgins, I mean, this isn't me reporting, it's kind of out there. T. Higgins probably isn't going to negotiate during the season. I would be surprised if DJ Reader even wanted to negotiate during the season because it just, to me, I've never been a big negotiating during the season proponent. I don't think that does much good for the player. I don't think it does much good for the team. I think it's a distraction. Man, and also for these guys, it usually is better if they can perform their contract year and try to get more money. It's the reality of how this league works. If you're performing at a high level, people are going to want to pay you more money. Football, baby. That's professional sports. Any last thoughts on this before we jump to the Ravens? Because this is one of those ones where I hope we're not talking about this in 3 or 4 months. It's something that we wish we had even more understanding of because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, no, I just, wish LC the best.
Yep.
I like the guy. So, just don't go to a division rival. Don't go to the Chiefs, and we're cool.
Speaking of a division rival who's got a little issue at tackle, we're going to go ahead and jump to the Ravens. The Bengals are 0-1 and welcoming a team in Baltimore that will be without likely be without, I should say, left tackle Ronnie Stanley, Tyler Linderbaum starting center, starting safety Marcus Williams, and starting corner Marlon Humphrey. T.O., last week on this show, Billy joked, if we lose this game against Cleveland, which one of us is going to be the first one to say it's a must win? And you immediately jumped, it's going to be you. And obviously we joked it's not going to be a must win. But I mean, after taking a 24-3 drubbing, I think that the tone in the city has probably changed a little bit. Maybe you go to Cleveland and it's 21-17, something like that. People feel a little differently about Baltimore. Oh, I mean, it's still early. They're still figuring it out, but they're showing progress. When you get drubbed 24-3, people need to see some life, T.O., because this is a Super Bowl aspirations team. This is still one of the teams with the highest Super Bowl odds. So for you, we'll start with the must-win component. How much of a must-win do you really think this is? And mind you, I'm looking at the calendar. We're not halfway through September yet. It's currently September 14th. We're not halfway through the month. We have not started the second week of football yet. How much of a must-win game is this?
Out of 10, it's a 0. They don't have to win this game, I don't think. And last week I joked that I thought it would be Billy, and I think you jumped on him too. We all thought it would be Billy.
Yeah,
poor Billy.
He just sets himself up, and we love him to death for it.
Yes, but no, I don't think it's must win, man. You just look at the schedule. You play Arizona coming up. If you lose that one, you don't deserve to go to the playoffs anyways. So you play the Rams again. If you lose that one, you don't deserve to go to the playoffs. It just is what it is. Good teams don't lose to those types of teams. Don't look at the Chiefs last year against the Colts, okay? Anyways, they have to win those games. So, in my opinion, if you want to make the playoffs, I guess the problem with the Bengals is they do pull up a stinker every year against a bad team. Who was it last year they lost to that they had no business losing to? 2 years ago, it was the Jets.
Oh, it was someone early in the year.
Yes.
Oh,
Bears. No, that was 3 years ago.
The Steelers game was the really dumb one. The season opener against the Steelers made no sense.
Yep, against Mitch Trubisky, right?
The Halloween Browns game was also one of those games where it's like, it doesn't make any sense.
So you do expect a stinker, and you're hoping that was the Browns game.
Yep.
Let's just say it was. But yeah, you can't lose those games coming up. And I'm not going to go through the whole schedule, but it's not a must win because we've seen this team overcome it before. They've won 10 straight before. They play well against, top tier teams, Bills, Chiefs, name them. But I don't think it's a must win, man. I think you have a real chance to take advantage. And I think you should try to take advantage while you can. Ravens are banged up, man. And, they're missing their two best offensive linemen. It's clear. It's Stanley, Linderbaum, Gap,
So they're probably right below them, but still.
Yeah, and then Moses was right on that tier too. But
Stanley and Linderbaum are just people movers, man. Those guys are just tough as hell.
Exactly. And then you're missing your starting running back. You're missing your starting, safety. Marlon Humphrey might be banged up. You got to take advantage of it while you can because a fully healthy Ravens team would be scary, especially this early, them coming off that playoff loss. I never liked those games. That's my thought. I don't think it's a must win. What about you?
I don't think it's a must win, but I think it's and I think we're very much on the same page here. It's just a huge opportunity to get one in the bank in the division, especially against a Ravens team that exactly how they're going to play you. The last 3 times we've seen these teams play, it's been such a similar game. These teams just go in and they beat the living hell out of each other for 4 quarters and throw haymakers and take punches and crazy turnovers happen. It's just going to be a bloodbath one way or another. So in these games where the Ravens are we know they push really hard. They seem to be a little more nicked up than a lot of teams. Just injury bug seems not in their favor for whatever reason. When you have them in these kind of spots, you have to pounce because they are not a team that give very much to you. They're going to move the ball methodically. Oh, and by the way, we didn't even mention they're without J.K. Dobbins for the rest of the season. So, while they're kind of trying to figure out this running back rotation, you also got to take advantage of that, mix.
Yep.
Lamar didn't look super sharp last week. This will be Mark Andrews' first week back in the lineup. I mean, there's a lot of reasons the Bengals should be in a pretty good spot in this game. And if they're not, man, you're missing a huge opportunity to take advantage of a division rival. And you're going to their building on Thursday Night Football later in the season in a game that's not going to be very easy. I'm going to that game with my dad, by the way. That was his birthday and Father's Day present combined. So hopefully it'll be a little easy. Hopefully I'm over-describing it now. But that's not going to be an easy game later this year. So I think taking advantage of now, your first home game, you're going to have A.J. Green in the building to bring that energy, the Ravens killer himself. If you lose this one, man, I just think that it's not over. 0 out of 10 panic, but you're just missing an opportunity. And you're really putting yourself behind in the division. I mean, at that point, the Ravens and the Browns both got one on you. Both of those defenses in particular look like they're going to have those teams in a lot of games. I mean, I don't think the Browns are going to be the fader that, they have been in recent seasons. They're going to be a tougher out. But, man, I think you got to take advantage of this Ravens game early.
I do too. I think, like you said, you put yourself in a big-time disadvantage, and if they lose this game, I won't be feeling as good. I think they'll obviously climb back to 2-2, 3-2, but you just don't feel good about it, about the 1 seed for sure. You feel really crappy about that.
Yeah, and to me, these are the kind of games that Joe Burrow goes out and gets.
Yeah,
they're the ones where he had a bad game the week before, and he knows the team needs a division win. He knows how much winning in the AFC North means. He's not trying to say any of that. And the Baltimore Ravens are obviously a team that have always given him some serious purpose. With that said, they've also given him a lot of headaches.
Yep.
I think we can kind of jump to the offensive component of this now, because what we didn't really talk about when we were talking about the Browns is just the lack of synchronicity between Burrow and the pass catchers. A guy that I don't think is getting mentioned a whole lot, and I think got a little more credit than maybe he deserved on Sunday, was Irv Smith. But, man, that guy does not give you a whole lot in the passing game at the moment. It doesn't really seem like him and Burrow are clicking the way that Hayden Hurst and Joe Burrow were clicking early in the year. But with that said, I mean, you didn't see a whole lot of click with anyone else either. You had T. Higgins going 0 for 7 on his targets. You had Jamar Chase catching 5 targets for 39 yards, which is, I mean, for Jamar Chase, minuscule.
Yeah.
Tyler Boyd, I kind of forgot Tyler Boyd was on the team. Trent Irwin, I did not know dressed. I did know he dressed, but I did not know that he got reps. Andre Yoshevich was on the field at some point. Charlie Jones didn't get on the field at all. I mean, there's just the passing game to me was just all over the place on Sunday. Not to mention you had every combination of running back in there as your pass protection. Just to me, that was just the passing game mess. I'd like to see. I don't know if I want to see it simpler, but I just want to see it maybe more in the Burrow mode this week. I think I want to see a little more orchestration from number 9, just setting things up and moving things around, because it didn't feel like he was in command much last weekend. With that said, I mean, we're not looking likely to see Marlon Humphrey or Marcus Williams, which are key members of this Ravens secondary, obviously. Rock Ya-Sin is potentially going to be their number 1 corner, so that'll be something to monitor. But how confident are you that the Bengals, core on offense, your Burrow, your Higgins, your Boyd, your Chase, are going to get back in business on Sunday against Baltimore at Paycor Stadium?
Yeah, man, they better. And I don't know, man. Burrow was missing throws that, on a dry day, you don't think he'd miss. There's 2 that come to mind for me. He missed a pretty wide open Boyd on a slant, completely threw it behind him. It would have been I think Boyd would have probably got 14 or so on it, but he threw it so far behind that the corner was right on him. And it obviously got knocked down. And then the one that was super disappointing for me, I think we were down 10-3, I think. But he misses T. Higgins in the back of the end zone wide open, no one within 5 yards of him. Completely sails it out of bounds. And he did get hit while he was throwing. You don't miss that throw. You can't.
Nah. He doesn't miss that throw.
You can't. You can't. Even if you just lob it up, you gotta give T a chance. You cannot throw that ball out of bounds. So that one pissed me off. I can't lie. But I guess you can blame the rain or whatever, but that's the throw that really stuck out to me. But also, man, honestly, you got to be more aggressive. Like 2 times in that Browns game where you completely lost the game, in my opinion, when you punt from your 38, I don't care.
4-3.
If Brad Robbins pins it at the 1, I don't care. I do not care. That's a terrible decision. That's an absolute terrible decision. And then the other one I didn't like was kicking a field goal, a 51-yarder with McPherson when it's I don't even know the score. It was either 13-3 or 16-3 or it might have been 10-3. I don't know, but
in the stadium, the turf has been or the grass has just been dumped on all day long.
Yeah, and I think it was 4th and 5, but at the same
low percentage play.
Yeah, at the same time, it's like 3 does nothing for you. That game's over still. It's over still. You haven't been down there much. You got to take advantage. So to me, those were the 2 plays where I just kind of chalked it up. I was like, oh, this game's over. It is what it is. It's not a big deal. But you hope for a more aggressive Zach. Which maybe if it's not raining, he is more aggressive. But we have seen that where he's at the 40 and he'd rather kick a field goal or punt than go for it. And that kind of drives me nuts. But you got to think that Burrow hopefully it's a dry day. It's supposed to be, but
it's supposed to be gorgeous.
Yeah, if it's dry, man, I trust Burrow. I mean, he's not going to throw for 82 yards again, and if he does, we'll be 0-2, and that is what it is. It's fine,
yeah.
But I don't know. I expect a big game from 5, a big game from 1, and Boyd to kind of do his thing too. But we need more creativity. We need more aggressiveness, in my opinion.
I completely agree. I mean, I don't know what you're waiting around for to be aggressive when you have these sort of players. Take the shots. I mean, he had 0 turnovers on Sunday. Cool. Right. I wouldn't mind if they took a shot down the field and it got intercepted. Because what was there to lose? I mean, they took like 2 or 3 shots down the field. It felt like all game long. That really, I don't know. The one that really was that shot on the sideline to T. Higgins, where it felt like they make that play like 90% of the time. Like, I mean, I've seen them nail that throw way too many times, and they're just not on the same rhythm. I think that's the most perplexing part, is just to feel them so off rhythm, so off balance. I don't know, man. Weird to see. I think that we'll see a lot more progress on Sunday. I don't know that we're going to see it all the way back. I think until we see Joe Burrow back to much closer to 100% mobility, because it's such a difference for him. I mean, think about once he got healthy when he was coming off the knee, and once he got that wiggle back coming off the appendix, man, that was a different guy. It really is. It takes you from like having, a great quarterback to one of those guys that can win you the Super Bowl. And Joe Burrow can win you the Super Bowl, probably with his arm tied behind his back if he had to. But man, it's just such a difference when he can manipulate the pocket in the Joe Burrow way we're used to.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're going to have to wait and see. And I don't know that we're going to see that all the way on Sunday, and that's why I'm going to predict this one to be relatively close when it comes down to it. One more thing I want to talk about before we kind of get into our predictions. Interesting wrinkle coming into this game. Much different look from the Ravens offense now. Not only are you without J.K. Dobbins, who is kind of settling back into that bell cow role towards the end of last season, especially with Lamar Jackson not on the field at the end of last season. You're coming with Todd Monken, who is an entirely different style of coordinator from what they were used to with Greg Roman. And you're also dealing with the insertion of Odell Beckham Jr., who didn't show a ton on Sunday, and Zay Flowers, who looks like the Ravens might really have something there with him. Rashad Bateman, obviously a pretty nice complimentary receiver himself, but definitely an upgraded pass-catching core, definitely an upgraded passing design offense from Baltimore. Much different than anything Lou Anarumo's coached against from the Ravens standpoint. But, T.O., how interested are you to watch Lou Anarumo cook on Sunday? I mean, compared to other Sundays, because to me, this should be quite the interesting one. The Ravens, over the last few years, I feel like the Bengals, more than anyone else, have put the textbook out on how to stop the Ravens. And so for this to be a totally different coordinator, although I think it'll be kind of similar to what you saw the Bengals approach Josh Allen like, so just kind of stay tuned to that, in which case I think they're going to be in good shape. But yeah, we just kind of watch for that on Sunday. With that said, How curious are you to see what Lou Anarumo does? Because obviously we've seen him really put together some successful defensive performances over the last 2 seasons against Baltimore.
Yeah, man, he was kind of in his bag Sunday, honestly. Like some of the looks that he was giving, throwing Mike in the safety. I love that, man.
I thought that was great design. It solves one of the things you've been talking about for a little while now.
Right. And, that gets your 4 best cover corners out there, right? When Mike Hilton doesn't have to man-to-man someone, that's great. And he's a good zone coverage guy. And he probably has a pick if Watson throws a more accurate ball on the sideline, or maybe he wanted to throw it there, and I think it ended up being completed. But Mike Hilton jumped the hell out of that ball, and if Mike's 2 inches taller, poor guy, he gets a pick and probably a pick 6. But so I like that, man. I like getting DJ on the field, with Cam, with Cheeto. Yeah, it's nice, man. You can throw Dax in your slot. Yeah, it just works, man. There's so much that Lou can do, and I'm excited to watch him because he typically does do a pretty good job against Lamar and scrambling type quarterbacks. So I'm excited, man. I think I'll tell you I won't tell you my prediction yet, but my prediction did change in the last 24 hours. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see our defense, and like I said, defense was definitely not a problem Sunday. They gave up 17 points or 16 points. That last TD when they started from the 20 does not count.
Yeah, they were done. I mean, honestly, the whole second half of that game, you felt the Bengals kind of the defense was not. I will say the first half from Lou Anarumo, he was cooking, man.
Yeah,
he was calling. I mean, he was really throwing some stuff out there. But when your offense is giving you nothing, and you're obviously not trying to give a team everything on film in week 1, I did not mind them kind of tearing it back a little bit. And I think you saw Chidobe Awuzi's snap count drop from there even more. And I was all okay with that, especially given the conditions. But I think that for week 2, I think it makes it really interesting now. And it's especially all the coverage stuff I think is going to be fascinating to watch against Baltimore. Because we know that Lamar doesn't like to throw the ball when he's getting blitzed. And if you have a bunch of creative defensive backs out there who are sniffing for the football, man, that's a recipe for a lot of turnovers.
Yeah.
And we know that Lou Anarumo's, he knows how to turn up the heat a little bit. I think you're going to see some pressure on Jackson. I think you're going to see him have to make some tough decisions. And with the way the team speed on this Bengals defense, I mean, you're always going to fear Lamar Jackson's wheels, but it's not the same 2019 Bengals defense anymore. This defense is fast. They can tackle. They're athletic. These are pretty good, quick, young defenders. So, and especially these 2 linebackers, man, both Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt were fired up on Sunday. Those guys were going 110% all game long. So I'm really encouraged to, watch how Lou Anarumo is going to run everything. But I think the defensive back stuff that you touched on to me is really where I think it's going to be fun to watch. So, yeah. I think from there, we can go ahead and get into predictions. I think we're good to go. Let's get into that. And I think I'm going to let you start because you said that, your predictions kind of been formulating in the last 24 hours, T.O. The wheels are spinning. The ideas are formulating. What's your prediction for Sunday? How do you see this thing playing out?
Yeah. So originally, before – the real injury report came out, and before Linderbaum and Stanley and JK got hurt, I was going to pick the Ravens, honestly, and it being because the Bengals have shown us that early in the season they struggle. It's just facts. So I was going to pick the Ravens, and I was going to pick them to win probably by 7 or 10, honestly, because their defense does give Burrow fits, especially of late. And I guess you could debate that, but we've seen the wild card game and week.
So it was week 18, I think. Last game of
the first game, honestly. I'm not even counting because week 18 he was going up against bench backups. So it was week 5. I think they scored 17
Sunday Night Football.
Yep. So and we have seen him struggle as of late, not counting week 18 because that Ravens team was beat up as well. on defense especially. But yeah, so I am changing it to the Bengals. I think the Bengals get it done, and I think Burrow. I think he's going to have a big game. I don't know why. I think it's the secondary that's given me the maybe not 525, but maybe close to 400-yard game from Burrow, and their line. If we can't block the Ravens' damn line, we got to have another discussion next week. We have.
We'll be having a phone
have
call.
Myles Garrett. They don't have a. They don't have a Zadarius Smith even.
No, they don't have neither. They have.
If we can't block, I don't even honestly. I know.
They really have Dalvin Tomlinson.
I know a way. Like he's giving us fits, but he's going against Orlando this year.
What's his name? Oh man,
Michigan dude,
David Jabo.
Yeah.
I think I heard that he had a pretty quiet training camp. He did have a sack and 3 tackles on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm just saying, man, if we can't block this Ravens defensive line, we're going to have some conversations to have next week because, yeah, they don't have a guy that you are scared of. Like, you look at Orlando Brown versus Away, you should probably win that matchup. And, So, yeah, if they can't block them, man, I think we'll be having a lot of discussions about a lot of people. But, yeah, so I guess my prediction, I'm going to go 27-17 Bengals.
Okay, there we go. I also, before the injuries, was very tempted to go with the Baltimore Ravens. Man, I just think that the Ravens were very bitter about the way the season ended for them last year. I think that even Bengals fans left that game feeling like we might have gotten away with one there. I mean, how often are you going to steal a game when the ball is on the goal line and all of a sudden your hometown hero is streaking down the field for a 98-yard touchdown at home? That's storybook stuff that doesn't actually happen until it does. And that's not a predictable football play. That is not like, here's what's going to happen next. It's not how football works, guys. It is, but like, the Ravens have every reason to be salty about losing that game because they were right about to close it out. The rest is history. The Bengals obviously went on losing the AFC Championship game. Mind you, they still thumped Buffalo and Buffalo.
Yeah.
We're not going to lose that to history, people. But that Baltimore playoff game, I think there's just still a lot of ill feelings within the Ravens locker room, and I think they're going to come up fired to play. In fact, I think the Baltimore Ravens are probably going to come out to a lead, and they're going to lead into halftime, and all of us are going to feel a little sweaty. We're going to feel a little sweaty, but I think rest assured, I think it's one of those games where they get into the second half and it's just Burrow has lasers in his eyes. The defense is doing all the Lou Anarumo stuff where you can't move the ball. This second half defense under Lou Anarumo, historically tough to beat. Man, I just think this one's going to be one of those, feels like it's going to come down to the wire early, and then the Bengals kind of make you feel like they have it under control. I think they end up winning a narrow, I don't know, let's call it 23-19. But I think the game feels pretty in control as the fourth quarter plays along.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
I just to jump in real quick, I was kind of at the beginning of the week, man, I was thinking, man, this is going to look so similar to the first game last year. Kind of feel where it's like, good Lord, can we please score? But also I wanted to ask you, if the Ravens don't go for it at the goal line last year in the playoff game and just take 3, do you think we win that game?
No.
I don't either. I don't think we get close.
We were done scoring for the day.
It felt like the Browns game, did it not? Like
Yeah,
where we just could not move the damn ball.
Yeah, the scoreboard was closed for the Bengals. There was nothing going through the uprights. There was nothing going to the end. So the scoring was done for the Bengals offense at that point today. It was over. It was done. They were no longer going to score the football. They might get you a first down. They might get you 2 first downs. Working to get you is points. That's not what was going to happen. So,
hey, and can I ask you one more question? Can I ask you one more question about the first down thing? When you watch the Chiefs, when you watch even the Bills, They're constantly moving the ball, even if it stalls out, even if they end up throwing a pick, fumbling, whatever. This Bengals team goes 3 and out far too often. And that's been the story for 3 years.
And that's
changed.
The only time we've really seen them do it consistently well is over the winning streak. And the winning streak possesses a lot of good for the Bengals, but it also possesses a lot of ceilings for them, a lot of where they've peaked out, a lot of where we've seen them do their best of the best. We haven't seen it consistently all the time. We've seen them do parts of things really well, but really during the winning streak is the only time we've seen them consistently be able to move the ball. And that's why they were so deadly last year, is because they could possess the ball. They could, with Samaje Perine and Joe Mixon combined, the running game could get you 4 yards, and then you pass it, and then you pass it again for, because you take advantage of those third and shorts. Yeah. That's where this team needs to get. They need to be back in third and short. And that's where the Chiefs love to operate. It's where Buffalo loves to operate. If you get Buffalo in third and short, their entire playbook is open.
Yeah.
Because that means they could slam it up the middle with Josh Allen and get an easy first down. They can run the ball, but they're always going to have that play action. And that's where it kind of comes back to, T.O., is when you are in these third and shorts, that's when you want to be doing that play action, especially up on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
That's where you want to be setting that up, because teams know that you can do anything. They know that you have every play on the play sheet open. And that's what makes this team so scary, because the last thing teams want to do is give Joe Burrow more flexibility. Joe Burrow with more flexibility is a terrifying human being. And I think that's where I'll leave my comments on that.
I think that's a great way to end this show.
Well, that's where we're going to leave for you guys today. We're so happy you're always listening. Make sure you're subscribing, liking, commenting what you liked about it or what questions you might have if you ever any of that. But hey, we're still going to be here for you, even if you don't comment or subscribe or like. We're crazy like that. We're not going anywhere. For T.O., I'm Willie, and who day?